Hi, I'm Michael Hill. I'm a forest firefighter for the United States of America. Welcome to my worldwide journey to explore man's fascination with wildfire. Australia is a big country, and fires have been around a long time here. I can think of nowhere else where fire mixes as much with people as it does right here in the Strait of Victoria. Victoria occupies just 3% of the Australian continent, but in the last 150 years, half the economic damage done by wildfire has been done right here in the state of Victoria. There are major fires every summer in Victoria. However, every 10 to 13 seasons, conditions come together just right. There's droughts, high temperatures, fuel buildups, and these winds like this that cause fires to come together just right, and they cause fires to just roar across the state. This is truly the place where fire meets the people. What makes Victoria so special in my eyes, though, is the way people have adapted here to live in such a fire-prone environment. Every summer in Victoria, over 60,000 Australians come together to fight fires. They're a special breed of people, and I want you to meet them. Victoria is state forest and parks, and fires on those lands are managed by the Department of Natural Resources and Environment and Parks Victoria. They, like the CFA, also deal with fires, except for the CFA mostly deals with urban interface fires. The NRE and Parks Victoria deal with fires in the forest and other natural resources. One such park is the Grampians National Park, which, because of its rugged lands and inaccessible areas, the Department of Natural Resources and Environment, otherwise known as the NRE, makes extensive use of helicopters. The responsibility for fire protection on these lands are divided into teams. Brian Suckling is the team leader.
Here in the Grampians, where we're mostly based, it's mostly rocky country with reasonably low forest areas. We cover mostly public land, national parks, state forest, crown land, that sort of thing. And so generally most of it's fairly rugged, mountainous. Get some tall timber, we get some rough heathland, grassland. It covers a lot of different areas.
Tell me about lightning strike on a fire in those areas.
Well, in these areas, obviously with their elevation, they're fairly prone to lightning strikes. Most of our fires are started that way. We don't have many fire bugs, people going around starting them just for the pure joy of it, mostly from lightning. And as you'd probably be able to tell, in this sort of rugged areas, it's pretty hard to get access to those fires once lightning has started them. So we want to get onto them as fast as we can. For people on foot and in vehicles, it could be hours before they get into a fire, and that's where our hover exit and rappelling comes into it. It shortens that time where people can get on the ground next to the fire, give an accurate assessment of what's going on and what resources we're going to need.
What resources could you use?
Oh, well, we have air attack, where we can have fire bombers come in, dropping FOSCHEC fire retardant or foam, or just water onto the fires. We have helicopters, heli-tack crews with belly tanks. They can drop foam onto the ground. If it's accessible, we can get dozers, tankers, smaller slip-on units, four-wheel drive units to get in there, hand crews with racos, and that's generally what we'd be doing. If it's a remote fire, it'll be all hand work, going in and putting it out, building a mineral earth line around the fire and doing our best that way.
Brian, can you tell me more about the Hover Exit program and your crew here in the Grampians?
Well, Hover Exit is what we would do in a fire. For example, we would get as close as we can and as safely as possible. Obviously we wouldn't be on the uphill side of a fire. We get in there as close as we can, find a rocky outcrop or a low-lying area. In the Grampians we have a lot of low, heathy areas. It's sort of low-lying shrubs. We would go in, the pilot would hover usually about 1.5 metres, 1.3 metres above the ground. And we have certain procedures. We go out, we exit the helicopter, and we don't jump out. We have to ease out slowly so the chopper doesn't wave around everywhere. And yeah, everyone comes out with equipment, usually probably 2, maybe 3, even 4 times the helicopter might do a few circuits. Probably the first crew out would, if possible, build a helipad so that the chopper can then land, and that way we can bring more people in. But if it's very remote, yeah, it'd be just 1 crew of 5, say twice around, come down, hover, and the 5 people get out, or 3 at a time. And, you know, sometimes we'll get short fires that may only last a couple of hours for a really small lightning strike. Last week we had one, it was a lightning strike. It wasn't very big, but we still had to be there for about, I think, 20 hours we were there. You know, it varies. It depends on how much the fire grows from the time that we're there. Assess it and do what we've got to do before it gets big. That's the idea of us going in there. We want to stop it before it grows too large. So, yeah, I would say on average we probably spend maybe a day, 12 hours. That includes getting a line around it and patrolling, mopping it up. If it was to get big, well then we just have to pull more resources in as needed. You know, we would call in the local crews first, and if it got too big for them, then we'd start pulling in resources from all over Victoria. We'd get people from the other side of Victoria. You know, the Rappellers have come and helped us out, and we've been over to their country as well. Sometimes we'll have hundreds of people at a fire.
Brian's team is a young, dedicated team. Their motto is work hard, play hard. Men and women working together, friends working together, and even family members working together.
We're brothers, big brothers looking out for little brother.
Oh, really? What do your parents think of you two doing it?
Mum's not so happy. She rings us up, you know, after a hot weekend or something, just to make sure we're still alive. But she doesn't like us ringing from fires and telling her that we're there. She'd rather hear when we get home. But yeah, she's pretty cool about it. Yeah.
Dad loves it.
Dad loves it, yeah.
What does he love about it?
I don't know.
Probably wishes he had been here himself, although he was a bit of a forestry guy.
He was a firefighter himself for well, a long time, probably at least 10 years. Not so much firefighter based, but he was in the department, forestry, and did a lot of firefighting in his time. So yeah, I think he's pretty happy to see some of his family members still kicking on with it. I like fighting fires because I can, you know, work in the Grampians National Park, and you know, when we're not at fires, it's a great office, great place to work. You know, get a real buzz out of fighting fires, being able to faced with a challenge. You know, you get there, you assess it, you say, well, you know, if we don't get onto this in an hour or two, it's going to get up that mountain and take off, or, you know, get into that grass down there and we'll never be able to catch it. So it's pretty rewarding being able to get on top of it. Yeah. What about you, Nigel?
Yeah, I like the same as Brian. I like just being here in the Grampians is great, and it maintains my fitness a lot, which is important. not as into the excitement factor so much. I enjoy doing it, but mainly it's a fitness thing and getting away from the city. Yeah.
Is there a lot of different animals that you see?
Oh, yeah.
We don't ride a kangaroo to work or anything like that. Yeah, there's a lot around. We see a lot of kangaroos. I mean, I look out my back window in the morning and you see deer, emu, horses, although they're not wild, kangaroos, foxes, everything. Yeah, there's a lot around. Corellas, everywhere.
Yeah, so get to see a lot of native wildlife. Yeah.
Well, you said a little bit ago it's a nice office. What's pretty about it?
Oh, well, I mean, we're working in the Grampians National Park. You know, people come here to see it, to see all its natural beauty, and we're working in it every day. You know, when we're not at fires, we're in amongst it all. We're getting to places that not many people get to, and even when we're at fires, you know, you still, if you get time to take a look at where you are, because we could be anywhere in the state. National parks right from the little desert up in the north of Victoria across to Gippsland, and they're all beautiful in their own way.
Was that a good part of the job?
Yeah, that's a great part of the job. Yeah, yeah. A lot of us are fairly switched on about it all. A lot of people have studied in natural resource management and parks and heritage diplomas, that sort of thing. So you gain a lot with the people you work with. You learn a lot about the environment you're working in, about the animals, the plants, the geography, it all. It's, yeah. In Victoria, there's only 2 hover exit crews. That's based here in Halls Gap. The other side of Victoria, we have the Rappel crews, and basically they're there because it's taller timber. You can't hover exit. The helicopter can't get low enough to the ground for people to...
And stuff like that, well, it's a little bigger. We do have a chainsaw guy usually at the front, and he'll cut, you know, a good 6 foot off, and then we can work in between, keep all that out, and yeah, keep going along our way. The chainsaw guy comes in very, very handy.
Picking up on Brian's lead, I decided to travel 700 kilometers. That's around 500 miles, to spend some time with the helicopter rappellers. The first thing they did was to show me how to construct a fire break, Aussie style.
Faster, you bastards, faster! Come up!
Rappel firefighter. We're assigned to the fires that are off the tracks, out in the beaten nowhere, and yeah, they call us dopes on ropes for short. We're the guys who sling over the edge and free fall our way to the bottom. Not quite free fall, but you know, get into the remote fires and tackle them. My mother's a bit pensive at times. She does. She's a nervous girl, nervous lady. So she's okay with it now after a couple of years. But I remember the first year she was very nervous whenever I had the call and you know the helicopter was waiting and she was ready to rumble. She usually got a little bit nervous and you know, take care of yourself, you know, just look out for yourself and all that sort of thing. So, no, but she's good with it now. I like to travel. I've caught the travelling bug, so I actually do this, try and save money, usually successful, so sometimes not successful I should say, and then get away for 6 months and have fun. Go and live the good life.
I'm a forest firefighter. Have been for the last 7 years. I work on a helicopter rappel crew. We go to fires that no one else can get to or no one else wants to get to because it's too steep, too remote, and that's when they call a helicopter rappel crew. Fight fires because it's something that makes a difference. Like you can actually achieve something. You can actually save people's lives, and that's something to be proud of. Probably when we're on our way to a fire, we're thinking about the weather. If you get a mix of wind and dry weather, sometimes it's a place you don't want to be. Like if you're on a fire and you've got some northwesterly winds coming in and high temperatures, you want to think about maybe I shouldn't be here. I'd say the most unique thing about fires in Australia is how dry the country is. We have no access to water most fires we go to, so it's dry firefighting, which is a lot different to a lot of other countries. We get lots of hot days in summer, and it always seems that the really hot days always seem to be the days when there's a lot of wind around as well, which is a really bad combination that we're talking about. So it's, yeah, you get a 39-degree day and you get winds coming from the northwest at 40 kilometres an hour or something, and you've got a bad combination. And that's the sort of time you want to get onto a fire really quickly. Like, you know, we've got fire towers, and if they report a fire and you can be on it quickly, you've got a lot more chance of doing something.
I work for NRE, they pay me, but over the years I've got a CFA portable radio up here, so if we get a CFA fire, well, I can report to CFA, and if it's close to the border, a line of CFA and NRE, well, we can get the liaison going. I know what both crews are doing, and we can liaison that way, so both sides know what's going on. Only at times I do pick up just around in here, especially when it's a bit damp. Wallabies and kangaroos come walking around. Foxes, from time to time you'll see them hunting through the grass. And on the other side of me there, on that direction there, there's a lyrebird up here quite often going through his repertoire with kookaburras and all different types of birds, sounds. In the event of picking up what we call a smoke, which will be some distance away, or it could be close by the tower here, I'll take a bearing through that string there. All around the room, the degrees are marked off on your grid references, and we cut out to that, and I'll take a bearing, I'll take a note of it on a piece of paper, and then I will take I've got a map, and I'll take get a rough reading on that as to where I think the fire is. I'll report it to the office that I have a smoke on a bearing of such and such and such and such, maybe 50 degrees or whatever it might be. The distance away is approximately 30k, and then I'll go and plot it, and I'll take a rough idea where it is. If it's possible, I'll get another bearing from another tower which is close by, and I'll get a bearing from him, and then I'll cross plot that on a map, informing the office at the same time to make sure that he's looking at the same fire as what I'm looking at, because it could possibly sometimes be a difference. He might be looking at a different fire to what I'm looking at. Could be 2 or 3 lightning strikes in the one area, but one might be down in a valley. So it's a fairly involved system, just to double check on one another, and then the office works it from there, and they turn out the crews.
Apart from the 1983 Ash Wednesday fires, another dark day has burned into the minds of many older Victorians. January 13th, 1939, Black Friday. Immense bushfires reduced Victoria's forests to ashes, and then slowly, the following day, people began to emerge out of the mountains of ash, thankful to dugouts like Powelltown's, where the night before they had escaped very possible deaths.
We're in the dugout now. This was used in years gone by for protection when bushfires come through. It's still used today.
In the 83 fires, was this dugout used?
Yeah, it was used, mainly it was used for storing your valuable possessions and things like that in, because most people now want to stand outside and watch what happens, and there's not as much bush around here now as there was then, of course, so it's not as important. Our whole water association is a community fireguard group. Because you work and laugh and joke and swear at each other, you get to know each other, and then if there is a fire, there is a lot less chance for panic when everybody knows everybody else and knows that and knows how our system's set up, so that they can all work together then without any friction or fear or panic. Yeah.
Okay, Jim, you're kind of isolated out here in the mountains. Do you guys fight your fires yourself, or does the CFA and the NRE come in also to fight fires here?
Lots of times CFA do come, they try to come, but if we're cut off before they get here, we're on our own. DNR and E, they're the same. They'll do everything in their power, but they've got to be able to get here if we happen to get cut off.
This dugout is one of the last of its kind in the world, and even it is earmarked to become a museum. We are doing this video series for all of you. If you like what we're doing, please give us a like, leave a comment below, and subscribe. Welcome to Talking Wildfire, my friends.